If you got your Bibles, will you please secure them and stand for the reading of God's Word? All the way in the back. Come on, stand, everybody. James Brown said, get on up. Please, thank you. 1 Kings chapter 17. First Kings 17, and I want us to begin at verse number 10. So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? As she was going to get it, he called, and bring me, please, a piece of bread. As surely as the Lord your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jar. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. Elijah said to her, don't be afraid, go home and do as you have said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me, for what you have, and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord says, the God of Israel says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land. She went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. On this, our last day of gathering and the last session therein, I want to preach using as a subject, don't feed the alligators. Don't feed the alligators. Would you look at the person beside you and tell them, whatever you do, please don't feed the alligators. Having indigenous roots right here in South Carolina, my family decided that this summer we would in fact collectively spend our family vacation right on Kiowa Island. We went there just a week ago. My daughters, who are in their preteens, were in unbridled glee to spend all their days on the beach. My sister was looking forward to catching up on work she had to complete. My niece wanted to be left alone just to read. And we only had one disgruntled member of the entire Bryant family. And that one disgruntled member was my 4-year-old nephew, who was aggravated to no end because when we moved into our beach house on Kiowa Island, being rambunctious and adventuresome at the same time, he couldn't understand a sign on the back of the house. And the sign on the back of the house said, in all caps, don't feed the alligators. He just couldn't rationalize as to why this sign was there and why he had to agree to it. He went to his grandfather, my father, Bishop Bryant, and asked Poppy, how come I can't feed the alligators? My father, his grandfather, said, go ask your Uncle Jamal. Having studied philosophy and divinity, I have no grasp of zoology. So I had to ask the groundsman, because my 4-year-old nephew, Ayo, would give me no rest. And here's what the groundsman Kiowa Island, South Carolina, said to me just a week ago. He said, Pastor Bryant, if you start feeding the alligators, they will think you are their source. The problem lies in the fact that if you feed them, they'll lose their natural fear of you, and they'll keep coming to you, expecting you to feed them. Alligators, YPD, have in fact an instinctive fear of humans. But if you feed them, they will lose their fear and will become more aggressive. He further offered, and I need you to hear this almost as the nexus of my argument. He then stooped down and said to my 4-year-old nephew, love them enough not to feed them. And I want to say to you on your way back home that many of you are being bit by what you fed. You fed into complacency, so you've lost your hunger to do better. You've been snacking so long on low self-esteem that you've become allergic to affirmation. But the greediest person at the table is your fears. And it's eating up all of your emotions and then taking a styrofoam plate. I came this morning just to tell you, whatever you are afraid of, starve it. An anonymous author once said, you've got to feed your faith and starve your fears. According to physiologists, the human body can't survive 21 days with no sustenance, lest it begin to dilapidate for absence of strength and protein. The same can be held in true regards, watch this, to what you fear. Can you imagine then that for the next 21 days, you refuse to feed what you fear? And if you did that for 21 days, what you fear will be rendered anemic and malnourished. After 21 days from this day, you will no longer have a fear of being alone, no longer have a fear of fiscal calamity, no longer have fear of sudden death, no longer will you have fear of retribution, no longer fear of untoward exposure, no longer fear of foreclosure, no longer will you hold fear of results from a test, no longer will you have fear of assault or fear of judgment, because God has not given us the spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. Fear is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. My daughter Grace, who's now 13, when she was 3, she was having a terrible time that her mother and I were having a rough task trying to break her out of. My daughter Grace, who's 13, when she was 3, had a baby doll. And all of the food that Grace didn't want to eat, she was trying to make her doll eat. But she was sneaking it in her room, leaving a trail of ants in her wake. So all over Grace's baby doll was applesauce, was yogurt, was chewables. Why? Because Grace thought what she was feeding was real. She kept trying to jam it in the doll's mouth and would get upset when she wouldn't eat it because she couldn't understand what she was feeding was not real. In the inaugural address of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he stated that there is nothing to fear but fear itself. I want just 1,000 of you who are in this room to declare aloud, I am not scared. Come on, young people, let me hear you say it with a little bit more enthusiasm. Come on, say it out loud. I am not scared. Come on, I need you to say it out loud, real good, real big, and real heavy. I am not scared. One day, Peter was on a boat. And while Peter was on the boat, he looked through the mist and he saw Jesus coming towards him walking on water. And Jesus was, in fact, walking towards him, and the Bible records for us, and they were all afraid. What is amazing is that they were with Jesus for 2.5 years at the time of the text, but now they don't recognize him. And the reason why they didn't recognize him, watch this, 7th District, is because they had never seen him in a storm. Some of you don't know who God is because you only recognize him when things are going well. But I need 90 of you who know, I know what God looks like in a storm. He said to him, if that is you, let me come to where you are. Board of Examiners, can I tell you something? Is that Peter, it breaks the rules. Why this? Because Peter was not called. God help me. He was not called, he volunteered. And Jesus said, because you got enough nerve to volunteer for something you ain't even called to do, I'm gonna make sure you don't drown in it. Can I tell you, there are some people that don't like you because they don't understand how you have success in areas that you ain't been trained in, you ain't been licensed in, you ain't been ordained in, you ain't been certified in, but they don't know because I don't like confusion. I'll step up and do whatever it takes to make sure it's a success. God told me to tell 90 of you, and I hope y'all don't mind shouting about it. He told me to tell 90 of you, this year, you gonna walk in stuff you should have drowned in. This year, you gonna have success where they expected you to fail. There was a woman. I just need to hear somebody to shout out loud, I ain't scared. There was a woman who had an issue of blood. And according to the book of Leviticus, she's not supposed to be around other people. She's supposed to be living on the outskirts of town. And if people are approaching her, she's supposed to scream out loud, unclean, unclean. The problem with the woman with the issue of blood is, watch this, she has no affordable health care. There are no clinics out there. Y'all ain't gonna like it. And where the real sick people are, there are no churches. So she made up in her mind, I gotta use this as my one shot to get healed, and I don't care what nobody said. I may be in the last church in the district, but I got a pure heart for God, and nobody is gonna stop me from getting the healing, the miracle, and the breakthrough I need. And she made up in her mind, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, everything they laughed at me about is going to be removed. I want to say to some of y'all, when you start worshiping God, don't you trip over who rolls their eyes and sucks their teeth. You got to make up in your mind, this is my one shot. If you need something from God before you get back on that bus, before you get in that van, before you get in that hot car, would you open up your mouth and get God's attention like I got to touch the hem? Oh, y'all got to do better than that. Y'all act like you scared. Come on, cry out loud like this is my moment. I ain't scared. Come on, would you tell the people down your row, I ain't scared? So this week, while we've been in the convention center, A lot has taken place. And amazingly, an uproar has ensued because President Trump President Trump invited a motley crew of urban pastors. And he brought them to the White House to allegedly discuss prison reform. Much of the internet discussion is about the preachers being used as pawns, props, puppets, and photo ops. Academicians and critical thinkers are interested as to why the preachers were told they couldn't ask questions. Evangelicals think it was their honor just to sit at the table. Ex-offenders are curious as to what's the actual real agenda. But while I was watching CNN and MSNBC this week, the Holy Spirit had my ocular lens zoom in and pay attention to what exactly was taking place at the table. And if you allow me to sign my imaginative license, I want you to take note of the fact that on the table, just that there wasn't any policies on the table. It's not just that there were no programs, but if you go back and look at the footage, you'll notice that while all the preachers are sitting around the table with the president, that there are no plates. The diabolical intention of this administration is to starve the prophetic mantle of the black church. I want you at the table, but I don't want you to eat. And when you go a long time without eating, you become delusional. You become so delusional that you'll say foolishness like Trump is the best friend to black people and did better than Barack Obama. When you haven't eaten and you're around starving prophets, they'll sit next to the president and never check them about putting immigrant children in cages. When you got starving prophets, they just glad to be in the press and on television, but never speak truth to power. When you got starving prophets, it makes you sit silent next to a reprobate and never call him into accountability for vilifying Colin Kaepernick and castigating Maxine Waters. When you are a starving prophet, you forget what it is that you are called to do. Is that your responsibility ain't just to make people shout, but if you are a real prophet of the Most High God, some Sundays the members ought to leave mad and upset because you've challenged them to think at another capacity and to live at another level. And the problem with the 21st century church is we no longer preach about sin. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Holiness is not a denomination. It is a conviction. But we've lost our prophetic mantle. So we'll get up in church and we'll preach about homosexuality. But we don't say nothing about the stewards sleeping with the choir members. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. Where are the prophets? Don't just talk to me about paying the assessment and you ain't taught me how to buy a house, how to start a business, how to pay off my student loans. Where are the prophets? This generation is looking at ministry to see whether or not we are an authentic sound or an echo. God, y'all ain't saying nothing to me. So the children who go to your churches will support and celebrate LeBron James, but your own church won't support Allen University. Where is the prophets? God, y'all done got real quiet in here. The reality is we have lost our perspective and our conviction. If your greatest fight about your young people is about them having tattoos, then you have missed the gospel. Jesus don't care about their tattoo. He wants to know what's in their heart. And if their heart is for God, that's the real thing of the essence of the gospel. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but since January of 2016, Donald Trump has gained 24 pounds. Y'all think I'm making it up. He's gained 24 pounds. Watch this. As a consequence, you've not seen him button his jacket. And the reason why you haven't seen him button his jacket, watch this, is because we keep feeding the alligator. God, I can't hear no worshipers in here. As long as we keep sending these Uncle Tom runaway slave Negroes in the White House selling out the black community, we are feeding the alligator. In 1 Kings chapter 17, there's a drought. In 1 Kings chapter 17, there's a drought, and the Lord gives the prophet outrageous instructions. And here are the outrageous instructions to the prophet. Go to Zarephath. God, help me to preach it right. When I came Wednesday, I was preaching to the youth. This morning, I really want to preach to the preachers and to the lay. I need y'all to hear me. It says, go to Zarephath. Now, some of you, watch this, don't understand why this is an outrageous proposition. God tells the prophet, go to Zarephath. That's important. Why? Because that's where Jezebel is from. God, help me in here. I am sending you to an assignment where they're trying to kill you. I am sending you to a place where they don't want you to grow. I am sending you to a place where they are afraid of change. I am sending you to a place where they keep trying to kill off your ideas. But the problem is I sent you, and it don't matter whether they don't like you or not. The assignment of God is on your life, and you shall live and not die. Says, I'm sending you back there. I know you wanted a different appointment. I know this ain't where you wanted to be. I know this ain't your bucket list. But I am going to sustain you in the place that tried to suffocate you. And there's some of you that ought to be giving God glory because folk don't understand how you are thriving in an atmosphere where they kill prophets. How you are doing well when folk keep waiting for you to go under. Says, I'm going to protect you even though they don't like you. I'm going to keep my hand on your life even though they want to see you dead. And so when you walk in a meeting, folk look you up and down. Watch this, because they can't believe you survived it. But I need 500 of you that can thank God that if it had not been for the Lord on my side, where? On my side. Woo. Hallelujah. I dare you to give 3 people a high five and tell them I survived it. They said I wasn't going to make it. They didn't think I was going to be here today. But look at me. I'm a testimony. I didn't make it on my own. but somebody prayed for me. They had me on their mind. They took the time, and I'm so glad that they prayed. Lay hands on yourself. No weapon that is formed against me shall prosper. Lay hands on yourself. In the time of trouble, he shall hide me. Lay hands on yourself. He will make a way out of no way. If you believe it, open up your mouth and give him glory. I dare you to shout better than that. He's keeping me alive. He's keeping me alive. He's keeping me alive. Be seated, please. Woo. Be seated, please. Elijah. Hallelujah. 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 I'm coming. Thank you. This ain't for just everybody. Those of y'all that had to deal with sickness this year, I dare you to shout out loud, he's keeping me alive. Those of y'all that been under attack, will you open up your mouth? He's keeping me alive. Be seated, please. And the Lord sends Elijah to Zarephath. Watch this. And what's crazy is that there's a drought there. There's a drought there. I need you all to hear. 7th District. Elijah is anointed. He got a call on his life. He has an assignment. And God disrupts the erroneous prosperity doctrine theology that suggests that if you're anointed, you won't struggle. God, I can't hear nobody. The fact that you are anointed means you gotta struggle. That if I suffer with him, then I'll reign with him. He's anointed and struggling. Gifted, struggling. Got a call on his life, and he's struggling. Elbow your neighbor, say, he preaching about me. And here is the problem. Here's the problem. Is that he didn't have to. Y'all didn't hear what I just said. He's struggling, but he don't have to. There's a drought. Nothing is growing. No hydration. The ecosystem is disrupted. And Elijah is in the middle of it, hear me, struggling unnecessarily. Pastor Bryant, what do you mean he's struggling unnecessarily? I'm in 1 Kings chapter 17. I'm in verse number 1. Check it out when you get home. Watch what verse number 1 says. Elijah made the declaration. There will be no dew and no rain until I open my mouth. He's in a drought, but he don't have to. God help me, because Elijah don't believe his own anointing. God help me, if he would have just opened his mouth, the drought would stop. And some of y'all are in a condition that you can get out of today, but you sitting there trying to look deep and holy and bougie. But if you would open up your mouth, God would stop the drought. Hallelujah. Be seated, please. Hallelujah. My late dearly departed grandmother used to say, shut mouths don't get fed. God, help me in here. Look at your neighbor and say, if you don't want nothing, don't say nothing. But if you need God to open up heaven, this is the moment for you to open your mouth. This is the season for you to open your mouth. He's in a drought. And here comes a widow. And the Lord promised, I'm going to send somebody who's going to sustain you while you're in this drought. And there's a widow. And she done gathered 2 sticks. God help me. She done gathered 2 sticks and she rubbing them together. Hallelujah. Because she understands I got to start a fire where I am. Oh God, I can't hear nobody in here. If I'm going to get out of this, it can't be dry. I need something to catch on fire. Look at the person beside and say, don't rub up against me if you don't want to catch on fire. There's a fire in me. There's a burden in me. There's a passion in me. I got 2 sticks. This old woman says, watch this. And we had no idea that she had been reading the book of Ezekiel. Because in the book of Ezekiel it says, watch this, that my nation will gather 2 sticks. God, I wish y'all would read the Bible. Watch this. And one of the sticks shall be Ephraim, and the other stick shall be Manasseh. Y'all ought to go to Sunday school tomorrow. Watch this. Ephraim means double fruitful or double portion. Manasseh means make you forget. Did y'all hear what I just said? Ephraim means double portion. And Manasseh means make you forget. I got the wrong church. Let me try it again. I said Ephraim means double portion. But Manasseh means make you forget. And what is this woman doing? She's rubbing them together. Double portion is going to make me forget. And God said, when I bless you this time, the blessing on your life is going to be so good, it's going to make you forget. And is there anybody here that needs God to help you delete some files? I only got 2 more times to ask you to be seated. Sam Jr. done put the clock on me. Be seated. And at this moment, Elijah lives up to the stereotype of a black preacher. Elijah lives up to the stereotype and the preconceived perception of who a black preacher is in the mind of millennials. This man of God who carries the anointing asks a dying widow, give me your bread. Yes, it's just what your YPDers think about you when you raise an offering. That while the community is struggling, the only thing they can hear you saying is, give me your bread. Oh, God. So we're raising a generation that has a problem giving in church. Oh, God, help me. They've never given any thought to what the owner of Macy's drives. But they go there. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. They don't care that Michael Jordan invests in private prisons, but every year they want a brand new pair. Y'all ain't saying nothing. But as soon as the preacher gets something, y'all act like the preacher stealing your money. Y'all ain't saying nothing, like he's trying to get over on you. You got value for everybody but your prophet. Say, give me your bread. And here's the insult. The preacher is asking the widow, let me have your oil. You the one anointed. But you pulling on the laywoman oil because you know you ain't prepared. That's a whole nother sermon. Y'all will get it later. Says, give me your bread. And we had no idea, seminarians, that this would be a foreshadow for the Last Supper. We didn't know this was the prototype of what Jesus would use for the Last Supper. This woman says, I can't give you my bread because I'm going to eat this and then I'm going to die. It's the last thing I'm going to eat. Y'all stay with me. And the prophet is insistent, if you feed me, God help me, you ain't gonna die. See, if you die, it's of no consequence. But you're not feeding me, you're feeding my gift. God help me. So your responsibility, only 70 of y'all gonna get it. Your responsibility is to feed your prophecy. God help me. Now, if God ain't promised you nothing, you ain't gotta keep me alive. But because I have the gift of the prophetic, if you die, I got the power to bring you back to life. But if I die, everybody is gonna fall out. Be seated, please. The 27 of you, please. And so what I'm doing here, I realize I'm in South Carolina. I know my roots come out the low country. I know this is antithetical to the black preaching hermeneutic that we ought to close and call and response. In jubilation and emotional euphoria. I understand all of that. And I know I'm breaking the rules. I know it. I know it. I know it. But God has given me an unusual assignment. He said, this is not a word for everybody. No, this ain't word for everybody. This is only a word for those of you in the room God has promised something to. Oh, God help me. Let me go a step further. He promised something to you, watch this, and you ain't got it yet. But God said this morning, before you go back home, what I want you to do is feed your prophecy. How do I feed my prophecy, Pastor? Is I got to act like what he promised is already on the way. Now, if he ain't promised you nothing, I don't want you to say nothing. But God said, if you give me glory in this arena, everything you weren't supposed to get, I'm getting ready to open up heaven and getting ready to give it to you in advance. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let me strings, please. Thank you. Hallelujah. And this is the last time I'll ask you to be seated. It is amazing to know that 1 Kings chapter 17, if you read the entire pericope, the entire narrative, you'll notice that nowhere does the son say anything. So I am feeding this. Why? Because God is trying to make my future die. And so I got to do something to circumnavigate what's supposed to happen. Hallelujah. Because the enemy doesn't want my future to live. Hallelujah. They can't die. Hallelujah. I said they can't die. Hallelujah. Talking about your son, your daughter, your nephew, the kids who are sitting on your row. They can't die. Hallelujah. I'm waiting on the church to show up. I don't care what's been said about them. I don't care how they've been labeled. Hallelujah. They're not going to OD. They're not going to commit suicide. No bullet is going into their body. I can't hear nobody in here. They can't die. Y'all sitting there like you don't believe that God is able to do it. I'm telling you that no child that came with you this week, none of them will spend the night in jail. None of them are going to be in an early grave. They can't die. I just need every parent to just shout out loud, they can't die. They can't. I was a student at Morehouse College. My sophomore year. At that time, Bishop Brailsford, my parents had just been elected, serving as missionaries in the 14th Episcopal District. Thanksgiving time comes, and I ain't got no money. Not only do I not have any money, I'm not even sure where I'm going to go for the holiday because my whole family gone. And group of guys from Morehouse who from the Baltimore, D.C. area, I found out they were going home, and I didn't have money for no plane ticket. I asked them, can I catch a ride home with y'all? They said, yeah, we got room in it. I'm talking to the driver. Can I ride home with y'all? I said, yeah, you can ride home with us. That Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I'm coming out with my duffel bag. One of the other guys sees me come and said, where you going? I said, I'm riding with y'all. Y'all going to Baltimore, right? I said, yeah, we're going to Baltimore. But you can't go. So they upperclassmen, I'm lowly underclass. I'm thinking he's just trying to punk me, play me. Like, man, I got to go home. I can't eat no cafeteria food for Thanksgiving. Y'all ain't leaving me here in this dorm. Say, yeah, I know that. But you can't get in this car. I said, man, come on, y'all. Don't treat me like that. I give you some gas money. I want to go home. 3 of them had a huddle, then came back. Said, Bryant, you can't get in the car. We decided. I'm mad. I'm upset. I'm eating in the cafeteria with all the exchange students. Thanksgiving. There Thursday, go to church Sunday, Monday, everybody coming back. Everybody coming back, and I start looking for the guys that left me. Hallelujah. Anybody seen so-and-so? No, we ain't seen them. Anybody seen so-and-so? No, we ain't seen them. Y'all seen so-and-so? No, we ain't seen them. That Tuesday, we get a call at Morehouse Emergency Assembly. Everybody come to Martin Luther King Chapel. We assemble in the Martin Luther King Chapel at Morehouse College. And they make the announcement that the young men that left me got pulled over in North Carolina. And they found 2 keys of cocaine in the trunk. God, I can't hear nobody. All of them got sentenced to a minimum of 10 years. God, help me. While everybody else in the assembly was looking around, I just lifted up my hands and said, Lord, you kept me. I don't know where no worshipers are in here. There's some stuff you were supposed to die in, but God kept you. I can't believe you sitting there like you don't owe him any worship, like you don't owe him any praise, like you don't owe him. He kept me. I can't believe y'all ain't gonna worship him. I said he kept me. It ain't that you better than nobody else. It's just God's grace is on your life. You ought to be thanking him right now. He kept me. Where would I be if he didn't kept me? He kept me. How much you lift up that hand? That same grace that God put on my life, I release it onto the life of every young person that's in this room. Sooner or later, it's going to work in your favor. It's getting ready to turn around for you. Satan was going up and down looking for somebody to devour. Have you considered my YPDers? He said, I thought about them, but there was a hedge fence, a protection around their life. If you believe God is going to keep you, do me a favor and just turn around one time. He kept me. He kept me. He kept me. You ought to praise him. He kept me. Listen to me. I gotta go. Hallelujah. But anybody in the room can just thank God that he kept you. How many of you believe that your future gonna be better than your past? 'Cause